Live. All right, I think I did it backwards, but maybe we are live now. Good morning, Erin. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just making sure we're live, and I think we are, but it's got to pop up. There we go. It's Bernard Nomberg with another Tuesday episode of Nomberg Law Live. We come to you at 10 o'clock on Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. Thank you guys for tuning in either now or later on. And I've got my friend Erin Smith from, is it like Winchester, right? Winchester,
Right
Kentucky.
outside Lexington, yeah.
Well, thank you for having a few minutes. I know today is your really busy day, Erin, and we're just going to jump in because I've been wanting to talk with you and talk about this subject for a number of months now, and I'm so happy that you've got some time. We're talking about not just yoga, but lifestyle and health and exercise and all kind of good stuff. Before we get into that, if you would, Erin, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your background and the OM place.
So I have a studio in Central Kentucky, right outside of Lexington. Beautiful rolling hills, horse country, Bourbon Central. And we've been here for 20 years now. So I've been doing yoga most of my life. I'm not only a yoga teacher, I'm a yoga therapist. I work one-on-one with people and a mindfulness coach. So I'm super passionate about learning about the brain and how that works with the movement of our body.
Well, Erin, there's so many places we could go with our discussion. I
For
want to
sure.
kind of I want to kind of harness it a little bit, and let's talk about the busy professional or the busy person. Doesn't have to be a professional necessarily, because I'm sure that all of the classes that you teach or lead or at the own place, you have people from all walks of life. And it doesn't matter the age or the race or the gender, they're there for a similar reason. And for people like me who did not even attempt yoga until 5 or 6 years ago, what is it that you tell people who are interested, a little scared, maybe a lot scared? How is it that you get them in the door and tell them this is where you need to be and why you need to be here?
Well, so our bodies need movement, but our minds need stillness. And some of us are getting that movement in our body, but none of us are getting the mental stillness that we really need. So our brain isn't really designed for us to be present in the moment. It's designed to either ruminate or worry or think about what's going to happen in the future or think about what's already happened in the past instead of being present. And as a culture, we're just getting busier and busier. So that means our minds are getting busier and busier. We have to actually train our minds to slow down. So what's amazing about yoga is it gives us both of those things that physiologically we truly need. The movement for our physical body, but the stillness for our mind. So it doesn't matter to me why you came to class. If you're looking to lose weight, you're looking to lower your blood pressure, you're going to get it all. You can't sort of pull it out and just take one gift from this amazing science that we call yoga. You're going to get it all. And it's a really, really good thing.
You know, when we see on social media all of the advertisements and the whether it's a still picture or a video for people touting their yoga practice or, hey, this is where you should go, you're not going to see the average Joe or average Janet in those pictures for the most part. You're going to see somebody who's trained, who has practiced. So if I'm a person who has never practiced, I'm intimidated. I can't do what I see on there. But personally speaking, my brother David and I started practicing about 5 or so years ago. I'm not nearly where I want to be, but I know it's the practice of yoga. It's not the perfection, so to speak. How do I, as a person just starting out, and I used to be an athlete way back in the day, but I'm now, I'm over 50 years of age, and I think I can bend a little bit. But what do you tell those people who really it's just not for me? It's just not something I think I can handle. I'm intimidated is what I'm basically feeling.
Yeah, for sure. So intimidation is a real thing because if you are looking on social media, you're going to assume that you have to be young, thin, flexible, rich, and white to do yoga. And that's not true. You don't need to be any of those things. Of course you can, but we also need in the yoga world to have a little more transparency. I'm always very, very intentional with my own social media posts. You will see people of all ages and colors and genders, because like I said, we were designed to move our body and to still our mind, no matter what our body looks like. And to assume that yoga is something that is only for young and already strong and flexible people is missing the point. It hurts my feelings a little when people will say, oh, I could never do yoga, I'm not flexible. Well, you're not going to get any more flexible by not trying yoga. So you just need to find your fit. There are so many studios out there, and there are so many real people with real bodies trying to share this around, that you won't have to look far in this day and age to find the exact right place for you.
Let's back up a little bit. Erin, when you and I were talking last week, you told me a little bit about your story about wearing leg braces, and then you finally found something that just resonated with you. So take us just for a few minutes on your journey of how you found that and to where you are today.
So I was born with severely pigeon-toed legs. They were incredibly turned in, and before I started to walk, I was fitted for orthopedic braces, just like on Forrest Gump, from my shoe all the way up to my waist. And they told my parents, several orthopedic surgeons, that I would never run and I might be able to learn to walk, but would probably always have a limp. And since I wasn't even walking yet as a toddler, my mom and dad thought that was maybe a pretty harsh diagnosis. So they enrolled me in dance and gymnastics and yoga. And so even before I have memories of doing these things, I fell in love with them because it was the one time of the day I was allowed to take the braces off. You could only have them off for 1 hour a day, even had to sleep. So there are pictures of me in these braces, and then, you can kind of see that, they were such a monkey on my back. And then other pictures of me in dance and yoga and gymnastics, and the sheer joy that is showing through makes it clear that that was the place for me. And then growing up, I was a very type A person. I wanted to succeed, wanted to be the best at everything. It wasn't anything that my parents put on me. It was something inside of me. And that could have led me down a path of a lot of anxiety. But because I was gifted the mindfulness at such an early age, I could always sort of temper that type A tendency, that tendency I had to be the best, to do more, to succeed, to add something else to my plate. So I ended up getting all these gifts that I didn't even realize I was getting. And so I knew that I always wanted to share it. I'm actually a librarian by trade. I'm a reader and a writer. I write a column. I've written several books. So words were really my passion. That is what I went to grad school for, but I always knew that I needed to share this gift. And it's ended up that this has become my full-time job.
Well, that's fantastic. I put a link to the Om Place in our comments, and I'm going to ask you about it in just a second. But for those of you who are just joining us or watching us later on in the replay, put your comments in there. Good morning, Mitch. Good to see you. I've got a buddy of mine, an attorney out in California, Southern California, who is just fantastic on social, and I'm sure he'll get the word out as well. But if you all have questions or comments for Erin, please throw them in there. I want to hear from any of you who practice yoga and how you've incorporated it into your lifestyle. And there's so many different, I'm learning, Erin, there's so many different types of practices. Let's talk about the Om Place for just a minute. Tell us, let's hear a little bit about what the Om Place has to offer, where you're located, what kind of classes, those kind of things.
So I have several other teachers on staff, and I was the first studio in Central Kentucky to offer a yoga teacher training program. So we've been doing that for over a decade. So it's kind of awesome when you get to train other people to become yoga teachers, then you get to handpick the best of the best, the cream of the crop, to teach at your own studio. And we offer basic flow, basic beginning yoga classes, hot yoga flow classes, restorative yoga classes. They're all based in alignment and mindfulness. So they're all going to include a little bit of restorative yoga, even if it's a hot flow class, a little bit of meditation. And I'm also, as I said, a yoga therapist. So I see a lot of people one-on-one. My specialty is spinal issues and or pre and post-op joint replacement surgery. So maybe you had a hip replacement and you can't be in a group class for 4 or 6 months. I'm going to help you get ready for that surgery, and then I'm going to help you once you're out of physical therapy. So what I do kind of goes hand in hand with orthopedic physical therapy. We also have a personal trainer on staff and some massage therapists on staff, and a great chiropractor who offers dry needling. So it's really pretty holistic, all the things we offer.
Wow, it really does sound like from not only the mental but also the physical, you can improve your lifestyle, your health, etc. Let's talk about, Erin, the busy person who's never taken a class. What type of class do you advise? What type of approach do you advise for people? Let's say they've been athletic most of their life, they're in middle age, they're extremely busy, life is just, you're at that place with kids, job, etc., but you know you need to make a change. You know you need to have a fresh start with something health-wise. What are some advice, some tips that you offer for that type of person?
So I generally tell people, don't start with an advanced yoga class, obviously. Pick a beginner or even an intermediate class, because a really good yoga teacher is going to be able to pull you into the fold. I tell people that the biggest thing to do is to choose a day and time that works for their schedule. Because if they're trying too hard to fit it in and it's just not working for their life, they're not going to make it a habit. And you have to make it a habit to really reap all of the benefits. You can't come to one yoga class and say, well, that's done. I'm mindful. I'm all stretched out. My joints are perfect now, right? We call it a practice because it isn't something that you just do for 6 weeks. It isn't something that you're ever going to master. It's something that is going to go with you and ebb and flow as your life ebbs and flows. And sometimes based on hormones or ages or just stages in your life, we have more muscle tone or less muscle tone, more or less flexibility, more or less time, right? We have more kids at one time, and then all of a sudden they're gone and our schedule opens up. You have to make it work for you, and then the practice folds itself around you if you're working with a good teacher.
It sounds like it's a lifestyle choice.
Absolutely.
And for me, I have put on my work calendar those times of the week when I know I want and need to go exercise. And it's on there. Unfortunately, like most people, I'm tied to this thing, but I know when 4 o'clock rolls around on Thursday where I'm going to be. I'm going to be in an exercise class at my Jewish Community Center, which is next door. And it really, before you get into whatever that routine is, you have to be accepting mentally that has to be part of your life, and it has to be part of your routine. And if it's not, I think that a lot of people are either fooling themselves or maybe just wasting their time. But
and really maybe taking advantage of their health. Like I tell people not to wait until they have a health scare or they have a panic attack to start taking care of themselves, right? This is preventive medicine. And it's underused. Meditation and exercise are the 2 most underused medicines that our body has. So don't wait until something else goes wrong in your mind or your body to start taking care of yourself. But it's, like I said, I get it. I'm glad you brought up the digital leash. You know, it is getting harder and harder for all of us as a society to set it down, to take a mental break away from it. And I love social. Social has connected me with some amazing people all over the world. But we also have to be very, very intentional about our phone use, right? It's changing the shape of our skeleton. It's changing the tightness in our muscles. And so years ago, you know, I had a lot of people saying, oh, yoga, that's a fad. That's gonna come and go. I don't think so. You know, it's been around for over 5,000 years. And I don't think with the way that we're treating our bodies now, it's going to go away anytime soon.
You know, that hour or hour and a half, depending on the class that I take, when I get to put my phone away and I'm not with it, not checking, not even thinking about it, is some of the best mental health, I think, for any person, because you should be, when you're in that class and you're really paying attention to what you're doing and you're in the moment, that's what you're dealing with. You're really breaking from your daily grind. And that's
right.
what I love. That's what I love about really any exercise, when you can just focus on what you're doing. Now you lead classes. You, I assume, still practice yoga. What do you see? Some things, I guess, some tips, if you will, for the average person who's coming to your classes or any classes. It doesn't matter if they're new or they've been with you for 2 decades. What are some things that you see that are really traits of the successful practitioner when it comes to doing yoga?
So I tell people when they come in and they say, okay, my goal is to do the splits, or my goal is to do a headstand. Okay, great goal. I'm not going to poo-poo it, but I also want you to dig deeper, right? The true practice, the true mastery of the practice is to be able to have present moment awareness, no matter what your body is doing. And that is the hardest thing, but the most rewarding thing. So if you're not moving in flow mindfully, then you're not really doing yoga. And yoga can, of course, be done in a yoga studio on the mat, but it can be practiced anywhere. Anytime you are having present moment awareness, I call that yoga. And why wouldn't we want to just be awake in our own lives instead of constantly in our little animal brain? You know, the amygdala part of our brain that's always saying, oh, this is going to be terrible. Oh, I need to worry about this. Oh, I need to hurry and go do that. I don't want to live in a hurry and worry state. I want to live in a place where my eyes are open to all of the things around me, because I can still right now do all of those, what I call the big shot poses, but it's less important to me than knowing that I can get up and down off the toilet, right? Like in 20, 30, 40 years, I still want to be able to move my body with as much ease as I do now. That is the gift of yoga. Like, that longevity is so much more interesting to me than how developed your deltoid muscle is, or how many chaturangas you can do at one time. Those things are great, and if that's what gets you excited, awesome. But if you stick with the practice long enough, you're going to go deeper anyway. That's not going to be as important to you anymore. And again, it's those big shot poses. If that's all I was showing on social, I'm just killing myself as an entrepreneur. I'm just turning away people who are so intimidated by this gorgeous big back bend that I'm doing, that they're missing that I'm saying, it doesn't matter if you can do a back bend or not. Let's make sure that we can move our shoulder joint and circumduct it in, you know, an appropriate range of motion. That's the key. And it's hard because our ego is like, work harder, right?
That's exactly right.
Have a look. But if we're lucky enough, this practice is going to be with us for a really long time.
No. Erin, it's what you're saying just so resonates with me, and I appreciate you sharing that. And for those of you who are just joining us, I want to say hello to Robert, Stephen,
Hi.
Leah and Lee. Hey guys, if y'all got any questions or comments for Erin, please just throw them in the comment section. I'd love to know if you practice yoga. What's your routine and what do you get out of it? I'd love to hear those things or see your comments. Erin, you were telling me about the Own Place and what a great setting that you have in the hills in Kentucky. I want you to set the setting of your main room and what you're able to see occasionally come by the windows.
So I live on 10 acres, and our land butts up to a nature preserve that is a breeding ground for the red-tailed hawk. And when my husband and I decided almost 20 years ago to open a studio here, we wanted it to feel like the moment you came onto the driveway that you were moving into another place. You were moving into a world where you could very much let the rest of it go. And people tell me all the time we did that because at the beginning of the driveway, there's this circle, this copse of trees and bushes that you have to sort of drive through. And then you see as far as you can. Hold on, I'll show you.
Oh, awesome.
That's what you see from my yoga studio.
Oh, wow.
So my yoga studio is right in the middle of this beautiful place in Kentucky, and it's all windows on every side. We have fans overhead, Kentucky hardwoods on the floor, a big Vermont castings fireplace where we build fires in the winter. And we wanted it to always feel as if you were doing yoga in a protected place, but in nature. So everywhere you look is a view, and the fields are covered in wildflowers. We have deer come by, we have foxes and turkeys come by. I was telling you earlier that we have a new mama turkey with 9 little babies, these tiny little things, and they all sauntered by this morning while everyone was in Shavasana.
Wow.
Owl. We have a bald eagle that every time he flies by, the whole class just loses their mind, no matter what pose we're in. Everybody jumps up and has to run to the windows, and maybe we spend 5 minutes just watching this bald eagle fly around, but that's yoga too.
Wow, what a very cool setting. I may have to make a field trip soon, so thank you
Yeah,
for.
it's pretty awesome. I mean, I know I'm supposed to be a little more humble, but it is pretty awesome.
Well, it sounds like you and your husband have really set up a neat destination, and it really sounds like a great place to visit and specific and certainly to work and to live there. Erin, we're getting close to our end of our time, and I appreciate you sharing your expertise and your experience. And I wanna leave the listeners and watchers of the show really with one or two things from you. If you could just share maybe a philosophy, maybe share a few tips, just some things that really make up your practice that you share with people who are in part of your world.
Yeah, so if you'll just always remember to move your body and still your mind a little bit every day, that what it looks like on the outside matters so much less than how you feel on the inside, that we were designed to be vibrant, alive, and awake creatures, that we're still animals at heart with all those deep instincts about needing fresh air and needing to be in nature and needing to feel our feet on the earth. So that when we just take a few moments throughout the day to connect back to our breath and to feel our feet on the earth, you're doing yoga. And that's going to improve your life tenfold in ways you could not imagine. It sounds so simple, and it really is, but it isn't easy. You have to make the commitment to make it a habit. And so I also have an online yoga channel with over 100 videos with people of all shapes and sizes and ages and colors from 5 minutes up to an hour. It's called the Own Place channel. And so you can check it out for free for 3 days. So tell your people if they want to check out a meditation with me or maybe a restorative practice or a flow, that they can check that out at theownplacechannel.com.
We'll make sure we put the link to that in the comments section. Erin, you're so right in that it's not it's just something that builds day by day. And it's just a little bit at the time. You don't have to bite off a big chunk and just automatically assume that you're there. It's a lifetime of learning and experiencing, and I can't thank you enough for your time, for your experience, for your education today. Um, Thank you, and I do look forward to making a trip to Kentucky to see you and your family and go through some classes hopefully at some point.
Thanks, Bernard, for having me. I so enjoyed it.
Oh, me too, me too. This is one of my most favorite interviews I've done in a long time. Actually, not an
Oh,
interview, but a
okay.
discussion. Guys, this
That's
will
right.
conclude our talk for today. Another episode of NOMBERG LAW Live. We come to you every Tuesday at 10 o'clock Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will catch you another time. Be well.
Thanks.